Last time I met you, you were an entrepreneur yourself. Now you've joined the dark side and become a VC.
I'm still an entrepreneur.
You're still an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Still, I have a day job, starting a pretty exciting internet radio company. And in my free time, I do some angel investing. And trying to find the synergy between the two is pretty exciting.
And you're based in London. You're believing that Europe is the place to be as a venture capitalist.
Yeah, so we, DN Capital, we run 2 funds of about $75 million. We have almost fully invested our second fund now. Invested in companies like Shazam, Digital Chocolate, OLX, Sonico, which is
congratulations to the exit in OLX.
Thank you very much. And when you look at the US and you look at Sand Hill Road, I think you have like 400 or 500 VC firms just in one road, right? And you come to Europe, and now, today, I think we're down to maybe 30, 40 active firms. The opportunity is amazing. I mean, we see probably 50 businesses a week.
Wow. And how many of them are interesting?
That's a good question. So I'd say the team is meeting between 10 and 15 companies per week that we think are interesting. And then, obviously, I'd say on average, we did 6 new investments in the last 14 months, and we also did 6 exits. So we've been very active.
Wow, congratulations.
It's been a very, very active market the last 12, 18 months.
And what things are you most interested in? Could you please close the door there afterwards, or at least keep quiet if you're at the door?
Sure. So, just to give you an example, my last 2 deals have been e-commerce companies in Germany. Mm-hmm. So we've taken some, one is a copycat of diapers.com.
Diapers.com, okay.
Yeah, which is a very successful company that got sold to Amazon about 4 months ago for $600 million.
Wow.
We started it last summer in Munich.
What, you started the company last summer in Munich?
Yeah.
And it was sold when?
No.
No,
Diapers is in the US. We copied it for Germany. The company did the first quarter's business plan in the first 3 days. And has been growing like crazy. So we love e-commerce. We have looked at some things in Spain. In fact, we're looking at one, and I remember the Busu guys actually that were just on here. I love that company. I met them at Loretta Nova 2 years ago, and glad to hear they're doing really well. So, online education, which is an area they're in, is something we like. We love social media. As you know, Shazam has now launched its Friends application. We have 150 million users. And just seeing what's going on at the back of that, are doing a lot of stuff in the social media space. And then also, we like e-commerce as well.
And what things do you live in Miami? Not far from where I have a house in Miami, so we're neighbors almost.
Yeah, I live in Miami, which is a weird place, right? It's not known for venture capital. So a little bit of history. I've been in the internet sector for 12 years already. And I've raised about $400 million in the last decade in Miami. So shows you could raise money pretty much anywhere. I started as a banker, then I did internet infrastructure, which obviously was the bulk of the money. My last company, I raised $20 million for an internet music company that we recently exited. As I said, so I have a day job today for another music company, which is a sector that excites us quite a bit. And as an angel, we focus basically, I focus on, sectors that I understand. I mean, I think angel investing today, there's pretty much everybody's an angel investor. I mean, there's angel investors all over the place. I mean, everybody stopped putting money in real estate and in the public equities. Well, now they're putting back in internet companies in public equity, but everybody has seen the success of Facebook and all that, and they want to get in early. So there's a lot of different thoughts around how you should do angel investing in today's market. I think the ones that we've been in the sector for a while, we've seen some clear trends. I mean, you've seen obviously the cost of starting a company has gone down dramatically. Yeah. There's some technologies that allow you to do that, and those are exciting. I mean, cloud computing is an exciting sector. Specifically, for me, security within cloud computing. It's actually very hard to do security in such a virtual environment. frameworks that allow you to develop technology very rapidly. Most of them are based on open source, but there's a lot of value-added services on top of open source frameworks that I think is very interesting. Media, music, which it's something close, but you're seeing Netflix and you're seeing other media verticals that are disrupting very large traditional media models. And I think one of the most exciting, we talked today, mobile. Mobile is, right now we're all carrying, we used to carry phones and we're carrying computers, right? So what that does is just, it opens up a whole universe of possibilities.
Do you think that there's a different type of investment industry now as opposed to 3 years ago or 5 years ago? Are you doing different type of deals, or can you as a venture capitalist say, well, we've always been fine, we're going to work as we did before, the ones that survived are much stronger, but the model is the same, or are there different models?
Well, I think just being in Europe, I want to try and target it to the European market. You're seeing little things, and some people we know, like Fabrice Grinda and Jose Marin, who's from Spain. These guys they've done their own companies and they've made money, and now they're basically being very active angel investors. And sometimes these angel investors are taking away the market, actually, from the VCs.
They're stealing your deals.
Well, they're doing what the VCs used to do, which is go in and back early stage companies and really get in there and do the work. And so we love working with guys like that because for one, they understand business, right? Which not every VC does, because they haven't got in there and rolled up their sleeves. So working with these guys, we really think is an interesting way of actually getting into deals really early. Second thing, you see groups like the Samar brothers in Germany. Now, when
three German brothers that created Jamba, they created all kinds of companies.
These guys have already created, I would estimate, $2 billion of net worth for their group in the last 5-10 years, okay? There's not one VC in Germany that has a track record anywhere near that, okay? I can guarantee you, or in Europe probably. And so what they're doing is just really setting up this thing called Rocket Internet, where they're company building. And so this company building thing, Lukasz Gadowski in Berlin, the Samars, you see it also with Brent Hoberman with ProFounders. So it's a very different market. And then you got the traditional VCs that all want to go later stage. Come to us when you have revenues and whatever. So we really like, going in super early with these guys and then building the companies and just getting involved.
Interesting. And how do you see it from a U.S. perspective?
I'm a very successful investor because I started a month ago. And I haven't lost any company yet. So what we did, in investment, I partnered with a friend of mine. First thing we did is we actually invested in 2 funds. We invested in Silicon Valley Angels and 500 Startups, which are two funds are very active. And we basically did that to learn, what is going on in the Valley. My partner's in New York, so, obviously it's a very booming scene there. So we got also invested in a few. We invested in the first month 6 companies.
Really?
Yeah.
6 companies in 1 month?
Yeah. And
what do you look for? And you're laughing, so you guys are doing basically very different things. You're doing many flowers are growing. You're just giving them each a little water and seed, and you're picking a really nice rose.
We're managing institutional money, and so we have a process which takes, maybe 6 to 8 weeks for us to get a deal through our process, which we can't. Whereas, if it's your own money, like Fabrice was mentioning yesterday at Renanova, he can have a meeting with an entrepreneur in an hour and say, okay, I'll invest. We can't do that.
Well, what's hard now is for guys like, they're running institutional money, have fiduciary, responsibilities, is right now the speed of closing deals is so, it's so small that, sometimes for us, that is our money and, we can make a decision. It's not enough time because the market is so hot, especially markets, that in the US now, there's an ecosystem being created with basically the super angel group, right? And even before then, the incubators, the Y Combinators, the Techstars, the
500 startups and
500 startups, yeah. So basically, they're sort of doing, they're doing a pre-filtering of stuff, right? And then they, showcasing these companies to a bunch of hungry investors. They're basically all over them because they are in essence sort of, have a stamp of approval that they've been sort of accelerated, or they've been in a way refined. And I've seen it. I mean, I was in New York for TechCrunch Disrupt a month ago, and the pace of people investing in things without any information. I mean, us that we've been sort of more traditional for the last decade is really crazy. So what I've been doing, why I've been able to, with my partner invest in 6 things over the last month is because we pretty much invested in people we know. Entrepreneurs that we know have done it, or invested in companies that people that we know very well are investing in, and they know those people. So it's been.
But this is I think this is both alien and exciting for a lot of people in the group here, because in Barcelona, if you have a startup idea, it's not like there's 20 guys trying to invest in you today or latest tomorrow. But I think this is a trend that is coming to Europe as well. Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
So
I think
conceivably a year from now, it will be a lot easier to get capital here as well, or in.
Yeah. I think you're seeing a lot of groups that look at Spain, also look at Latin America. And so, start the company in Spain and then expand into Latin America. One of the areas which is really on fire right now is Latin America. So Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Peru also, GDP growth of like 5%, in these countries. And all the Chinese and Indians buying natural resources from South America, increasing the GDP there. And, obviously the logical expansion for a Spanish company is into Latin America. At least, and also 25% of the U.S. The U.S. is 25% Hispanic, right? So that's also an interesting angle. So, I mean, what is disappointing is the venture capital situation in Spain. I mean, you have like one firm, Nauta, here in Barcelona, which is an excellent firm, but then in Madrid, you don't have many people left. You have a couple of super angels like Rodolfo Carpentier and a couple other guys, Jose, et cetera. But there needs to be like 2 or 3 more firms in Spain to get the system going, because there's no capital.
But when you look at investing, do you look at geography, or do you look the guys in the eyes? Or
I look for the animals like Fabrice and some of the other guys in my portfolio that just are like this guy that was from Busu. I mean, he's got that energy. And it's all about guys that want to go do something and put their back into it and try to change it.
So if a guy like Fabrice or somebody else who's very accomplished comes to you and he tells you, I'm going to do this strange thing, you don't really get it, but you see the fire in his eyes. Could you invest in a situation like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if somebody, do you think, is not so switched on, but the idea seems just like fantastic?
No.
Never?
No. I mean, and we've done it. We've went into ideas which we thought were great with the wrong people and lost our money. And it's all about the people, because good people can pivot. So pivot means when you're going down a direction with a company and then all of a sudden you realize actually that market's not good or something changes. Good people can switch and go another direction. And that is the difference. I mean, you look at Shazam, okay? Shazam has been around for what, 10 years? This company did at least 2 pivots, okay? We decided to focus on mobile about 4 years ago. And we really, really went after the iPhone and Apple. And Apple changed the company overnight, right? The iPhone, just, all of a sudden you could tag a song by just pushing a button, just change things. So it's really about the people.
For the ones that don't know, Shazam recognizes all the songs.
How many people know Shazam? Hands up.
Yeah,
okay, keep using it. We're getting a lot big Spanish library.
Yeah. So you can recognize the music through your phone, and
then you can connect to Spotify.
Exactly. And what do you look at if you look at the team?
I mean, the team is the first thing. I mean, have the hunger in their eyes. That they're not gonna fail, or if they fail, they're gonna die trying. Obviously, they need to have raw intelligence. I mean, they need to know where they're standing, and for example, 500 startups as a model. Dave, who's a big cheerleader, but he has some very interesting concepts. I mean, he always says that he looks for a designer, a hacker, and a hustler.
A designer, a hacker, and a hustler.
Yeah. So basically, he believes, and I believe as well, that design is becoming more and more important. With websites, HTML5, technologies like that, even the iPad. Basically the visual part of the websites or the services are extremely important. You need a hacker. You need someone that has a deep engineering knowledge. And then you need a hustler. You need the one that's going to go out and get business and basically, do the work that the other two are not going to be able to do because they're going to be deep inside. And there's there's some methodologies that, the lean startup concept also, the concept of going and getting, getting a minimal viable product to market and get some customers and get feedback and iterate.
That's a buzzword from today as well. Amazon spoke about minimum viable product. So minimum viable product, what is that?
Yeah, basically, it's, put something out there that showcases the concept and test it out. See, don't spend, a tremendous amount of time, refining it. Don't spend, just do something that is going to validate the core principle. Otherwise, you're going to have to adapt it. You have to pivot it. You have to, and most companies are doing that today. And you almost have to do it because everything's moving so fast. So you're seeing it. You're seeing companies that start with one model, especially with the ones when they go to these programs like Y Combinator. I mean, within 3 months, it might change business plan 2 or 3 times, and the last iteration might come like 3 days before their demo day, which is the day that they showcase the product.
After 3 months, they have to do a demo, and either get kicked out or they get more money.
Well, no. So the demo day is the day that you actually demo the product. So you have 3 months to figure it out. Some companies go in, 3 months before with a concept, knowing that they're going to have to change it because they like the team, but they don't like the product that much. Some companies really 3 or 2 days before, 24 hours before, they come up with a product.
But how do you value that as a venture capitalist or investor? What is a company worth? What is a new company? It's a business plan, and it's going to conquer the world.
Well, I think you've got to look at the market size and do some sizing, right? And then a lot of it's going to come down also to competition. Because, if Axel and Index and everyone is running
also, if all your competitors are going in there, then you might want to do deal at the valuation and do it fast and get the deal done.
But I think it's a high valuation can work also against an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So, he gets a really high valuation, there's a preference stack, and, all that, raises lots of money, and then all of a sudden things might not work out. I think Fabrice mentioned it yesterday. Most companies on average sell for $30 million. There's very few companies that sell for over 100 million, and then maybe 5 a year for over $1 billion. So
it's less than that. It's much less than that.
Yeah,
I think it's like 30 companies the last 10 years or something.
So if you start going out crazy and start saying, I want to have a 50 million pre-money valuation, and I want to raise 10 million, and you're setting yourself up for some pretty tough times.
Yeah. And so technically, if you're not used to venture capital, with a preferential share structure, if somebody puts 10 million into a company on a valuation of 50, they want to have their money back before you can make a single euro, which means that if you sell the company for 8 million, they get 8 million, you don't get anything. So you built an 8 million company, but you don't make anything. Yeah. So that's why it all can work against
and then you have things like what happened recently with Yuri and DST, and Y Combinator, where basically he partnered with Ron Conway, and basically they give $150,000 to every Y Combinator company in an uncapped convertible note. So pretty much, they're taking all the risk, and they're basically spreading across companies. They don't even know if they have a product yet. As an investor, it's like, how do you compete? They're basically saying, I'm taking all the risk, and I'm going to come in at the same terms that the Series A guys are going to come in at when the product is already proven and all that. It creates obviously almost no incentive to participate in that round. But you are seeing a lot of, what I'm seeing at least in New York and in San Francisco is, you're seeing, I would say I'm seeing right now like 50% preferred, 50% convertibles. And I'm seeing of that 50% convertible, maybe 30% uncapped, and the rest capped, and some of them with really high caps. $5 million or something for an idea. So,
but do you think that this whole trend is that going to shift more money into venture capital, more money into seed investments? So for the entrepreneurs out here, are we going to see more capital in the future, or are we going to see less capital?
So as you know, this is a market that's very cyclical. And one of your questions was, are we in a bubble or blah, blah, blah. So we're definitely in something.
Yeah, we're in something. I hope it's not the shit.
Pandora just went public yesterday for $3 billion. You saw LinkedIn it's like 8 or 10 billion now. Groupon's coming out. You've got Facebook probably within the next 12 months. We've got 2 companies lined up that are doing over $100 million in revenues as well. So there's a lot going on right now. So, and as people, you see someone, selling Skype for $8.5 billion, you say, oh God, I want to go create a company, right? And that starts, the cycle is starting now. So we're starting to see a lot more things happening. You're starting to see the things you mentioned, that whereas, guys will be raising money and all of a sudden, one of the big guys will just say, here's $2 million. Done. No due diligence, just kind of done. We like you guys, we're going for it. And so we're starting to see some of that now. So it is reminding me a little bit of 1999, 2000.
Yeah, that's a recipe for destruction, but also for a lot of competence creation. And a lot of people get experience through this.
Yep. Here's the difference, though. The difference is there's over 100 companies with 100 million revenues of profitable this time. So last time it was a lot about eyeballs. This time there's some real companies out there, and I think we're starting to see these IPOs, and they're going out, and a lot of them are holding water. And Spotify, a company like that, I mean, that should be $1 billion company, right? If they get the rights for the U.S., boom, that's another one. And I think success breeds success. 3 of the guys that started Spotify, who maybe aren't, in the lockup, will go out and start another company, and then, some of the guys from LinkedIn will start another company. And so you'll start seeing more and more things coming up, which is great for the ecosystem. One of the big problems, though, is the LPs. The limited partners in venture capital, don't want to invest in European venture funds, because the performance in the past has been so bad. There has been great performance recently, and we got to make sure that that message gets out to them, because if they stop investing, then you're stuck with 3 funds in Europe.
What would you do if you were the mayor of Barcelona? So finishing up, what would you do to create an environment for entrepreneurs
that's a great
and for venture capital?
Because I love the city, and I always come here every year for the mobile conference, and I'm from California. This is the closest thing to California you have in Europe. And I would actually try to do kind of like what Berlin is doing, is create an international center for startups. And I don't know how they do it, whether maybe make a tax-free zone, okay? To incentivize people to come here and start businesses, because if everyone's in one place, it just makes it so much better. I mean, if you got people all over the place, it's much harder. Silicon Valley works because, you can put a team together in an afternoon, right? And I think really having that sort of concentration is important. Berlin is actually, I think, becoming potentially the Silicon Valley of Europe.
I mean, you come from another of my favorite cities. It's Miami. It's kind of like Barcelona. It's a real city. There's a lot of business going on. It's very Latin. It's got the beach.
Best football team.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were the alcalde de Barcelona, what would you do?
Actually, Miami, there's an issue, maybe the same issue as, cities that are not in New York or the Valley. I mean, so actually what I did is I started maybe you don't know about this, I started a non-for-profit foundation called the Hack Day Foundation. We're launching in November, and the idea is to create hackathons throughout. It's actually Miami and Latin America, and the idea is to create the first one in Miami, and then take it to Mexico City, Sao Paulo, and it's basically to bring out the hacker culture of these cities. I'm putting
get all the hackers together and have them.
Yeah, I'm putting together with big companies, like with big companies, so they open up their APIs, because I think at the end of the day, what happened also is, something here in the last bubble, most of us that were involved at that point, we were a bunch of marketing guys, or financial guys. We're coming out with like business plans and paper. Today, the difference is...
And we were kids also. And we were kids on
well,
top
but
of
today
that.
you have kids that are, very, very strong technically, and that's why they could pivot, because they could start with something and they could change the business. Before we had to change the business plan, we changed the numbers, we convinced investors, and then we need to tell engineers to change it. So right now, they could iterate a lot faster. So for me, embracing this hacker culture, teaching them to network with each other, to play around with APIs and with businesses with each other, put pressure on them. Over a weekend, they don't sleep and they come up with services. That I think is going to breed, because that kid that spent the whole weekend, instead of partying, hacking away and creating a product, the next week, he might not have come up with the idea that day, but the next week, maybe something comes up and he knows already a bunch of people that he could get together with to create the product. And I think that's what cities that are outside of the New York or San Francisco, where there's a lot of momentum already, need to do to really, sort of leapfrog and start producing startups.
Great. So we've had a full day together with a lot of interesting new perspectives and insights, and it's absolutely clear that you not only can, but you should create great companies with Barcelona as a base. You have a lot of the conditions that are necessary, and you also see that a lot of these companies up here on stage, they want to hire people. So in a country where there's a lot of need for jobs, I think this is really the recipe for getting the economy going. I also took home a lot of things. When I have a day like that, I'm part of producing it, but I'm also consuming it. So I'm thinking too small now. You know, I want to create Google Earth. I want to do something a lot bigger than before, and I hope that's a sentiment that a lot of you will bring with you home as well. So with that, we are finishing the third CIME Barcelona, and I hope to see all of you back here next year and at other CIME events as well. So thank you very much, and thank you to the panel.